right, Shalom. Let me get straight into these lesson for these little ninjas get too out of control. Um, I want to get this lesson done, but the spirit jumped on me to go into this concept of how people been they don't have no situation awareness. They have completely been brainwashed, and a lot of this indoctrination started in the school system when they was little. Also, with the religious Christianity indoctrination as well. So I'm gonna tie one into another, right? And I'm gonna have to do an independent lesson going into the school system to break it down further. But I'm just kind of scratching the surface. I'm gonna play this video. I'm gonna read this first. But these people in this world are gone. This is the separation from us in the world. The world is under this American Edomite spirit. That means they're influenced by these holidays. They have to do this. They have to celebrate it. They have to barbecue. They have to get into some folly. It's just the way it is because they're in the world. We're not. I'm gonna read this. It says the real purpose of modern schooling, the American public education system, was specifically designed to create the ideal citizen for a corporate-run totalitarian society. It was wildly successful. So let's play this video.
In 1920, a small number of powerful industrialists, together with their private foundations, spent more money on mass forced schooling than the government did. Indeed, Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller together spent more money than the government did on schooling. If you want to know the motives of this project, you need only read the first public mission statement of Rockefeller's General Education Board that was printed in its first report to well-wishers, issued in 1906. People yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding.
And that's these Illuminati, you know what I'm saying, the elite bankers, the J people, you know, this conspiracy to control the world. This starting at the Rothschilds, banking, you know, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, all these different elite families of the Edomites have set this financial system up to gain complete control over the people and give them a propaganda education and a propaganda media. So they don't never know what's going on. Nothing is really taught to you as the truth. So this is them boasting in they complete, you know, that's Job 9:24. You brothers know that scripture. The earth is given into the hand, the control of the wicked. Who is the wicked? You precept that with Malachi chapter 1, verse 3 and 4. Esau Edom has been relabeled himself as the J people, the Europeans, the Caucasian, white, British. And the real original British was so-called black people, Israelites. They related themselves as Canadians, Australians, you know, so on and so forth.
Hands. The present education conventions of intellectual and character education fade from their minds, and unhampered by tradition, we work our own will. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or men of science. We have not to raise up from them authors, educators, poets, men of letters. We shall not search for artists, painters, musicians, lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of which we have an ample supply. The task is simple. We will organize children and teach them in a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way. The real purpose of modern schooling was announced by Edward Ross of the University of Wisconsin in the same year that was written. Ross is generally considered one of the three founders of the 20th century discipline called sociology. And in a book bluntly called Social Control, Ross wrote, I'll quote directly, "Plans are underway to replace family, church, and community with propaganda, education, and mass media."
All right, I want you to take all that in. Salaki about the background, right? It says plans are underway to replace family, church, which church is the joke anyway, what you people know as church is completely different from what it really means. It's really the assembly of the Israelites. It says in community with propaganda. So your education is propaganda. That's why they give you standard testing. You know what I'm saying? So everybody could be in uniformity on one accord. They don't really teach you your elite children. They go to different colleges. They send them in a different training to rule the world in wickedness. So let me play the last part of this video, get into this lesson.
People, he informed his readers, are only little plastic lumps of dough. Another insider of modern schooling, H. Goddard, chairman of the psychology department at Princeton, called government schooling in 1920, quote, the perfect organization of the hive. Goddard wrote that standardized testing was to cause the lower classes to confront their biological inferiority, sort of like wearing a dunce cap.
Well, there you go. This is workers of iniquity. Let's go here. So I'm gonna tie this into this, point right here I'm trying to make. So situation awareness, what does this really mean? But I'm gonna apply this into a spiritual sense. Because as we observe these people in this world, especially among our people, they're moving with no kind of situation awareness in the spiritual sense. 1 second. So like now this is a heavy definition I'm about to read. It says situational awareness, often abbreviated as SA, refers to the ability to perceive, understand, and project the status of one's environment. It's about knowing what's happening around you, comprehending the meaning of those events. You hear this? So people don't know they don't really think about what they're doing. They're just doing it out of being. Jake is a very family oriented people. So anytime they can come together, bullshit around, talk shit, barbecue, get drunk, smoke their weed, they're gonna do that. And that's that separation that you have to make from the world, because they're in the world. But a lot of Jakes are pressured. They're like a peer pressure to be a part of this, and a lot of their family has got them trapped. I'm gonna read this again. So this is situational awareness in the spiritual sense. Know what you're doing, know why you're doing it, what does it mean, etc. It says refers to the ability to perceive, understand, and project the status of one's environment. It's about knowing what's happening around you, comprehending the meaning of those events. So, let's go here, man. It says cultural assimilation, and I went into this definition in 2 of my lessons, but I want to go into the examples of it so you can hit home. It says so-called Native Americans, which shall be the Northern Kingdom, Reuben and Gad, Issachar, so on and so forth. It says historically, this is how they do the cultural assimilation. The United States government forced so-called Native Americans, the Israelites, children into boarding schools where they were forbidden to speak their native languages, practice their religions, or wear traditional clothing. This was a form of forced assimilation aimed at erasing their cultural identity. So that's what happened to all the tribes. They all been stripped down and given this culture, and they have embraced this culture. They embraced these lies. They have made these lies their refuge, right? Because they want to be a part of something. All right? Check this out. It says social norms and behaviors. And we people watch, and I was just looking at these people, these jakes around me, and they under a spell. It's like they just doing it just because that's all they know. It's a spell they under of ignorance. It says social norms and behaviors. It says conforming to the customs, values. We're gonna go into this word customs, values and social behaviors of the dominant culture. It says identity, shifting one's cultural identity to align with the dominant culture, the so-called white man culture. And a lot of you jakes, you're just not really thinking about this correctly. A lot of jakes are driven, by this world. This world has control over them. All right, so let's go to this word custom. Give me 1 second. All right, this definition custom. It says a traditional and widely accepted way of behaving or doing something that is specific to a particular society, place, or time. It says a tradition, this similar words. Let's go to this word tradition. It says tradition, a long established custom or belief that has been passed on from one generation to another. 4th of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving Day. You seen a pattern? You get it? So our people have emulated and copied this society and they under a spell right now. Let's go to this terminology right here. So under a spell, check this out. And that's that multitude of dying enchantments, Isaiah 47 and 12. Babylon has these people under a spell. It says under a spell generally means to be captivated, enchanted. Give me 1 second. Salakia, 1 second. Salakia about that. It says, let me read this again. Under a spell generally means being captivated, enchanted, or strongly influenced by something or someone. I want you to focus on it. Strongly influenced in this particular case, right? With these traditions, these holidays of your enemy have gave you that you are under. It has emotional connection with you. It says often to the point of being unable to think clearly or rationally. A lot of Jakes haven't sat down and really thought about this. They just doing this because they off work. Jake like to party and bullshit around. So this is right up their alley, and they don't really stand for anything, right? They just go along with the tide of the water, or with the wherever the wind blow. It says it can also refer to being under the effects of a magical spell. So this is spiritual meaning to this, to be under these holidays. These holidays actually put our people in a state of mind of being like a euphoria, a party, feeling a euphoric kind of feeling. Right here. It says some context under a spell can refer to being literally controlled or influenced by a magical spell or an enchantment. Again, this is going back into a spiritual um, magic to captivate your mind. It's a magic that you cannot see, right? So that's what Isaiah 47 and 12 was talking about. Let's go here. Matter of fact, let's go here because I want to go to this scripture commentary, whatever, AI. It says Romans 12 and 2 encourages believers, which would be the Israelites, to actively transfer their minds through the renewing offering by Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai Spirit, rather conforming to the patterns of the world. What is the patterns of the world? The things people celebrate, the emotions of this place, what people consider to be good and bad, this whole framework of this society in Babylon, because you would think that the whole world, right? Even though the Edomites have influenced the whole world, you'll think the whole world behaves this way. That's not true. Some of these countries actually got a different culture than over here, even though they have been influenced by the Edomite cultures, right? Cultures like you. This transformation, that's why you can't be celebrating these holidays and say you in the truth, it don't work that way. This transformation allows individual to discern, right? Discern is a powerful word. Do you discern what you're doing, what you don't do, what you celebrate, what you don't celebrate? It aligns with God's will, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shah, which is described as good, acceptable, and perfect. This verse emphasizes a shift from the worldly thinking to be Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah centered perspective, leading to a life lived according to his purposes and making that separation from you and the world, right? And you hear the folly in the background, and these people, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man. But it is what it is. We got to suffer this because we're in captivity, but this going to be over soon. Right? Hopefully this lesson has been edifying. Call Allah Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rachak, Kodash. Shalom.